Matt Broder from Wake Up Woodward, man, and the former Michigan Wolverine. Are you a righty or a lefty, Broder?
A lefty.
All right, the southpaw from Ann Arbor. Matt Broder joins us. Matt, I love you, man. I love you on the chat. I finally got you to call in on the big show today, baby. What's your take on this? Talk us through it, man.
I'm fascinated to talk about this with you guys because it's such a fascinating conversation. Like, this is a moment I don't think the Tigers will ever experience again. Like, there are historical variables all playing into a hypothetical deal with the Orioles specifically being greater than any trade ever. Like, there's no comp for it. It's not a Soto trade. It's not a sale trade. There are so many factors in play on both sides that I'm fascinated. So let me know which direction do you want me to go? Did you say what's my take?
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know because I think I might have swung you a little today because you are anti-trading Skubal. As last week, Kirk Gibson was on our show and he said, I want you to sign Skubal, I want you to sign Flaherty, and I want you to move forward. And I think you were on that train, but I think I might have swayed you today.
No, so I've been how do I say this? I love being a part of this conversation. I can't get it enough because I love Tarek Skubal. Like, this is my first year covering the team. I'm a left-handed pitcher. Like, there's no greater dream than having a Cy Young contender who's a lefty to cover. It's a dream. Saying that, all of the pieces to what's going on right now lead me to the smart decision being trade Skubal if you get that package from the Orioles. Yeah. The Tigers, they're in a position of power where they don't have to trade him. Like you can hang up the phone if the Orioles or the Red Sox or Dodgers don't offer you what you want. But what the Orioles have to offer, and which is why it could be historic, they got the players. They have the farm system, which is the only pieces you can get in a trade deadline trade. They're not sending you major leaguers because they're going for a World Series. Anson brought up multiple times this week, Corbin Burns, their ace, is not signing back next year. So they get if they get Skubal, they get him for 2 years of team control. So they can go all in this year, but they still have him for the next few years. Their minor league system, which has been number one in baseball for the last 5 years, it's number one by a wide margin.
Yep.
I believe it would be a number 5 farm system, even if they traded their top 3 prospects. They are loaded. Those top 3 prospects, shoot, you could even say 4 or 5 are special, special. And the only reason most of them aren't in the bigs right now is because they have superstars blocking them. Like
Gunnar
Jackson
Henderson,
Holiday is
100%.
generation. Yeah, Gunnar Henderson, MVP candidate. You can't. Jackson Holiday isn't taking his spot yet, but he is the clear consensus number 1 prospect. And just the fact that the Tigers could reshape their entire organization, especially their entire major league infield next year. Like, when you're talking about a possible lineup of Colt Keith at first base, Jace Young at second, Holiday at shortstop, Mayo at third, Basallo at catcher, and if he's not ready, he's maybe a little farther off. You could have Jake Rogers at Dingler. You got to see Dingler at some point. So from a trade perspective, there are generational returns that you could get. I'll take a pause there because there are reasons why you would or wouldn't want to do it on the Tiger side too.
Of course.
Matt Broder, the best mustache in broadcasting. There it is. I got to ask
Better
you, though.
than Torque?
It's the best in broadcasting, I'll give you that.
Torque's looking bad, man.
Yeah.
This is looking bad.
So we got a young man here who is kind of letting the fan bust out of him and wanting to make a move this year. But there's this measured carefulness by every fan in Detroit because we've just never had, and we want to keep building up all these young guys. Is it more important to have a product that matters in September for Detroit Tigers fans than it is to have the potential for next April?
You're talking about this year specific or just in general? Because I would probably normally say we want whatever team we can field that's the best in September. But where the Tigers are as an organization, they're so far, and I know they're only 6 games out this year, but they're truly so far out from being a consistently contending team where I'm looking at how can we speed up the a Skubal trade, although it's a sell, I look at it as a buy. It is speeding up the rebuild. you're talking about fielding a team to go for it, to 2026. Right now, we're waiting for single A, double A guys in the system and evaluating the triple A guys. So it's actually a great question you asked, and I'm kind of weaseling around it. But the tricky part is going for it in September this year. First off, how are you going to do it now if you trade Flaherty? Who knows what you're going to get out of Reese Olson? Like the intriguing part of going for it or buying at the deadline is you could roll out a trio of Skubal, Flaherty, and Olson in a short series, and any team in the bigs would be scared of that. But you got to get there. That's a maybe. You do it, you risk not getting prospects back for Flaherty. If you're really going for it, you're also not trading Canna and Urshela and Kelly. You need those guys to go for it. So you're not getting anything back from these one-year contracts that you went out and get. And if you really want to make it worth it to keep Skubal, you got to sign him. And you not only have to sign him, whether that means throw him a Godfather extension offer he can't refuse or wait till free agency, that's going to be a pretty penny. And you got to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to put real major league talent around him. And that's just not what Chris Ilitch has done. That's not how Scott Harris operates. Mm-hmm. And you want to throw one more variable on it. It's that Baez is still on this team. They got to buy him out at some point. That's another cost $60 million that Chris Ilitch is thinking. That's money. So they need a lot in the offseason. They need bullpen help. They need starting rotation help. They need so much help. I don't think buying at this deadline just makes sense.
Okay. Well, let me hit you with two prospect questions here. First, we know that Jackson Holiday would have to be part of a deal to move Skubal.
He is the deal.
Yeah. Who are the other two guys? Because for me, it's not just two guys. I need three. First question, who are the two guys that you would need from Baltimore along with Jackson to be able to make this trade happen? And conversely, on the Tigers side, let's say that Chris decided he was going to be a buyer. What prospect would you be most willing to get rid of in the Tigers farm system that would get the most bang for the buck?
Whew. That second one's tricky. But I along with Holiday, I want Mayo and I want Basallo.
My man.
Mayo is priority number one. I want the third baseman.
Yes, sir.
If we can have a left side of the infield of Jackson Holiday and Kobe Mayo, starting in 2025 for the next 10 years, I'm down with that. I love Basallo. You could convince me, as long as those two are in it, you could convince me any combination of Beavers, McDermott, the right-handed pitcher, their top right-handed pitching prospect, or Cade Povich, their top left-handed pitching prospect. I'm with you, Anson. And Neil made a good point on Big D about maybe you go for it if it's just the two. I do want three. I want three so badly.
Amen.
Or four. I want it so badly that I would try to entice them by including Flaherty or Shelby Miller in the deal just to put it over the top to make them an offer they can't refuse if they really want to go.
One of the few times I love the greed of a Wolverine, baby.
Go ahead,
silly. That's what Harris needs to be here. Be greedy. Go out and get your historic haul, or bring back Skubal, keep him here and figure out a way to make it work. I just think if you trade him, there's a different type of path to contention. If you keep him, man, you better have some confidence that Ilitch is going to spend in the next, what would it be, 2 years and 2 months? Because he's looking for $400 million. Skubal is when it comes to free agency, and I'm just not sure I would pay any pitcher $400 million for more than or a contract more than 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I want an answer to that second one. I know it's tough.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, the prospect I'd be willing to give up. I mean, really, your best trade piece is Jace Young, and I don't want to give him up, but he'll get you an actual return. And when we talking, if you're not trading for Holiday and Mayo, there's a lot of holes to fill. The infield's a question mark. Jace Young's defense is a question mark, and we don't know if he's going to hit at the major league level. We think he is. We don't know. So that would probably be the biggest trade piece. But to be clear, I don't want to give up Jace Young, just to be clear.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and Broder, my guy, we done talked about this at nauseum, man, and all indications do point to they're going to sell. But my question to you is, if they're going to sell and they're sending scouts out to, the Baltimore Orioles AAA affiliate and things of this nature, why would A.J. Hinch come out and say that he wants the team to buy? Was this gamesmanship? Was he putting pressure on the front office? Why do you think AJ Hinch came out on 97.1 of all places and said that he wants to buy?
Honestly, I don't know, because I mean, I want to say it's gamesmanship. What else is he going to say? Like, you don't want to tell your team, hey, I want us to sell as an organization this year and give up. You want to give your players every bit of confidence or energy going into the last 2 months, because it's going to be a grind. That being said, players these days are so clued into social media and media. Like, it's not like you're putting it past them of where they're at right now. So that's a tricky one. I don't know why he would say it, other than he's not going to say, I want him to sell as the coach, as the manager. Maybe a different story if he's, in the front office, in an ownership group, or a fan. As a manager, you want them going all in.
Listen to me.
And there is one more variable to all this, and we don't need to spend much time on it, but the whole Bally mess with Xfinity and whatnot, that plays a role into this. I don't know all the numbers, but Illich being tied to 2 teams dealing with this Bally mess, that's money. That's costing him money. That's costing him eyes on Scooble if you keep him. And my gut saying he tries to build his own network in the next 2 years, which is going to cost a lot of money. So I think the path that they're on with Scott Harris is, it's the timeline's tied to his first draft class. It's tied to the Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal's, and Double A with Jackson Jobe, Hao-Yu Lee, who he traded for. The prospects Scott Harris has brought in and identified, they're panning out.
No
Honestly,
doubt.
it's the veterans that have been the question marks.
Listen, let me spin it. You guys are saying buy, sell. They're not going to sell. They're going to buy. If you make the trade for Scooble, that's a buy. You're buying for the future.
Right. Yeah.
So don't use the words sell, buy. That's not it. Make the right trade. Because let's say you don't make that trade, Matt. I'm coming to you. You don't make that trade. You sign your 2 pitchers. What are you doing next year? You think free agents are going to come here? You think free agents are going to fix this? You're going to get what? Who are you going to bring here? Vladdy Guerrero's 25 years old. Would I love to have him on this team? You're damn right I would, but we don't have enough to give Toronto for him. And actually, Toronto doesn't have enough to give us, probably. Baltimore is loaded. So if you don't make the trade, what players are you putting on this Tiger team that's going to make me a winner inside of a year or 2?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, there's nobody. I mean, there's no long-term solution out there on the free agent market, in my opinion. Like the fix would be short-term. Maybe you can upgrade, like get a little better veteran bat than
that's not what I want.
Or a Shella. Right, exactly. And that doesn't fit Tarek Scooble's contract. Like, we got 2 years of Scooble before he hits free agency. You got to go for it. Vlad Guerrero, I would love.
Yeah.
He's got 1 more year of control. So you would need to deal with his monster contract at the end of that year.
Isn't it worth it?
It would be worth it.
Yeah.
Like, if ownership would pay for this and allow Scott Harris to go out and, buy major league bats, not buy like the Yankees, but actually spend money, they could turn this around while keeping Scooble
Quickly.
I just don't believe, like, no track record tells me that's going to happen, whether it's Illich or whether it's how Scott Harris operates, both here and in San Francisco, where he came from.
That's why this makes the most perfect trade with the Orioles. You get rid of Scooble, you get rid of his $500 million contract that you don't want to pay, and you bring it in 2 guys that you're paying nothing to, and you're making your team better instantly. That's the way the Tigers have to make this trade. They have to.
I'm getting close to that point. The only thing keeping me from it is because I was a left-handed pitcher and I freaking like Eric.
He's phenomenal. He's freaking phenomenal.
Maz, is he now too good? Like, are we discussing this because he's too good? Like, if he was a little worse, like where he wasn't commanding, but he is Cy Young generational type top of the rotation, which means he both is going to cost too much at free agency. Also, you can get the most at the trade deadline. The fact that the Orioles are in this situation, have the farm system they do, the Tigers are in this situation, it's too perfect. That's why I think it's historic There's no comp. There's no Juan Soto trade comp. There's no Chris Sale. He's a pitcher, but it doesn't matter right now because Baltimore can do this all without paying anything. They can just trade their players.
They are in the perfect situation, and they need one piece, and that piece is here in Detroit. You got to make that trade. Both teams it's a perfect marriage. This is perfection. Tigers don't have to pay a dime. There's your $60 million that you could throw away out the window on Javi Baez, or you're gonna put $400 million on a pitcher that you got to pray stays healthy throughout this contract and doesn't. To me, I'm out of words. I can't wait.
I don't think any pitcher. If you're signing a 10-year contract and maybe he doesn't go 10, maybe it's 8. I don't see, and I can't find a pitcher from the past that has made it through a 10-year stretch without either a down year or two or an injury or two. So you're making sacrifices one way or another. Maz, what we just need to hope over the next couple of days, the Red Sox get hot, the Yankees stay hot, and this bidding war between the Orioles and Red Sox and Yankees and Dodgers, we can just use all of that plus the leverage of we don't have to trade him to entice them to give.
I'm not trading to the Red Sox. I'm not taking a guy and what's his name, Marcelo Mayer. I'm not taking that guy. I'm not taking him when we had a chance to draft him and we passed up on him. I don't want him. I don't want nothing to do with the Red Sox.
Use him.
Correct.
We want to use him in the Red Sox to entice the Orioles.
Absolutely.
And the Yankees are coming. Like
I know
they're
they
coming
are.
out of nowhere. They don't have. They
have nothing
to offer.
They have nothing.
They're looking for answers.
They have nothing.
But
they're a two-man team, man. Hey, bro, thanks for coming on, brother.
My pleasure. Thank you, man.
Broder, you're a beauty.
Use this KG Power Neck.
My guy.
Good to see you, Matt Broder. Wake Up Woodward, of course, on our Lions beat reporter. We'll talk Lions before this day is over.
And Tigers.
And Tigers, of course. That's right. He's our Tigers beat reporter.